Okay.
Alright, Assalamualaikum and welcome back to OMG Podcast. This is 24th milligram episode.
Yes, OMG, small dose but just enough for you to think. Okay, Jad, kita dah sampai ke 24 episod dah ni.
I think last episode kau cakap macam tu juga.
Tapi
sama skrip kau.
ya ke? Kita mesti sama lah.
Tukar
Oh, okay. Nanti kita kan boleh edit, tak ada masalah. Okay, by the way, this is also episode yang kita akan approach something like our previous episode. Sebab previous episode orang dah start cakap this is a good discussion where kita start to talk about the current medical trend, medical approach and the therapy. So macam I think that gains a little bit of traction from people who are not medical. Macam kita selama ni kan duk cakap cerita soal life medical lah, toxic kat tempat kerja lah, hospital mana elok, hospital mana tak elok lah kan. So I think it's a bit of dogma to non-medical macam tak faham. Betul ke doktor macam ni kan? But now we are a little bit more into things that we wanted people to listen more. Maksudnya kita nak dapatkan more traction from the audience. That we are talking about more in terms of advanced therapy, apa ni orang kata, modalities of treatment yang baru dan juga new medicine for example yang macam mungkin public dah dengar but they are not sure. Maybe kita boleh bawakan our guest to talk about it further.
OMG pun terpanggil ke? Tengok bil-bil hospital makin tinggi. People say prevention better than cure.
Itu salah ni Selat Hormuz. Bila minyak naik, harga semua naik kan.
Jadi OMG nak ambil peranan jugalah. Betul. Kita dah ada platform and kita ada rangkaian doktor-doktor yang kita boleh reach out. Why not kita increase the prevention punya effort?
Correct.
A way yang kita rasa lebih santai but meaningful.
Betul. I think I have read a few weeks before lah dalam LinkedIn kan sekarang ni orang dah cakap dah the new intervention of digital technology dalam healthcare actually not to help to cure disease but to prevent the disease. So kita nak moving towards preventable disease rather than curative medicine. Sebab preventive ni is cheaper.
Tapi dah lama kan prevention ni.
Betul. Sebenarnya daripada zaman
KKM
kita
pun dah try macam
kau biadab sebab kau bukan KKM kau boleh cakap nanti kena bash nanti. Okay. Alright, so what's new in OMG, Jack?
Okay, untuk pengetahuan semua, kita ada new manager yang in charge of our podcast guest.
Okay.
So manager kita ni memang agresif lah.
Dia tak macam kita lah.
Dia tak macam kita lah, agresif. So memang dia susun list guest memang tip top.
Okay.
So apa dia buat, dia hantar DM dekat selected guest yang kita pilih.
Okay.
Jadi untuk you guys yang mungkin terpilih, boleh tolong check DM dekat IG, dekat TikTok, manalah tahu masuk spam. Kan?
So kalau diorang check tak ada tu maksudnya tak terpilih ke?
Kalau tak terpilih lah maksudnya. Belum lagi.
Ataupun actually you guys can approach.
Betul.
Kalau you rasa macam there are things that you wanted to tell, why not you expose and bagi tahu kita that you wanted to be featured and you wanted to tell about it. Kita open the door. Lagilah bagus. Senang nak stay at the time kan.
Betul. So apa kita akan buat, manager kita akan approach and then usually try to get persetujuan dekat konteks dekat level IG dan TikTok. Kalau ada okay dan kita akan issue official email. And then we will set the time and date lah. Topik usually kita bagi. Kalau guest rasa dia
nak cakap something, dia boleh
else,
propose lah.
Kita more than happy to adjust lah. So that is the latest one. And tak silap kita dah ada 4 guest
inline
bersusun dalam inline. And we are looking forward to it. Nampak topik-topik macam lebih, tak adalah hangat tapi lebih.
Tapi kalau nak topik hangat pun boleh. Kau bagi kat kita, nanti kita cuba.
Tapi topik yang pasal PTD tu tak ada siapa nak bercakap je.
You mean pasal isu LMPT tu ke? Oh, yalah, medical career tu kan.
Kita nak kupas juga, but I know it's a bit sensitive. Not every doctors willing to sacrifice their profession
untuk cakap pasal benda tu. But maybe kita get somebody neutral lah. Maybe macam bukan doktor atau maybe someone yang faham tentang public policy.
Itulah the context of faham KKM ni policy tu. I don't know whether is it easy to get that figure atau tak.
Okay.
Tetapi kalau you guys kenal sesiapa, please bagi tahu kami, kita akan reach out. Kita nak faham jugalah what is the issue, because semalam huha dalam thread subspecialist tak dapat.
Betul.
Masters pakar apply for subspecialty.
I tahu thread siapa lah tapi.
Betul.
Alright, so our sponsor, Jack.
Okay, thank you to the Scrub Lab. Kalau you tengok kita pakai baju medical scrub ni, it belongs to the TSL. Design for the grind,
style for the shine.
Just nak bagi tahu, kita ambil bulk order. At the moment kita cater doctors untuk event contoh conference, everything. And also nurses untuk baju-baju uniform diorang. And PPK dengan MA lah.
Not to forget, if let's say GP franchises, kalau you guys wanted to salin kulit and then want to rebrand yourself as a new presence in the market and then you want to get want to get our scrub for your people, then by all means please contact us.
Just nak update, I perasan sekarang ni Fix dah masuk Malaysia. Kalau you perasan, Fix ni is the big medical scrub company kat US. Dia memang quality, dia power. Dah masuk Malaysia, satu set dalam 400-600 ringgit.
Betul.
Kain
Itu
dia,
baju dengan seluar
Kain dia sama macam kain kita.
Gitu.
Gitu.
Kau punya berapa?
Tak sampai 600
Tak sampai lah, 600
okay. So harga marhain. Alright, so boleh reach out to us and boleh rasa-rasa lah. Okay.
Alright.
Okay.
So today actually kita ada invite our guest who is actually a surgeon by profession. Okay, kita punya topik pada hari ni is something yang dia in the middle line of sensitive and non-sensitive. Sebab dia sensitive sebab it can be a communal kind of things ataupun benda-benda dalam community yang kita nampak a bit sensitive to be discussed about. Because baru-baru ni pun public health pun ada tunjuk lah orang pakai tuala tu. Kan? Kan? So satu topik. Okay. But on the way ada around, kita pun rasa macam benda ni is non-sensitive because it is a disease by itself. Dan dia adalah condition yang mana memerlukan perkhidmatan perawatan sama ada through GP care or even to a subspecialty macam surgeon yang kita invite pada hari ni jugalah. So topik pada hari ni Jad adalah pasal
Buasir.
Oh, kita biasa bukan dengan nama hemorrhoid ataupun maybe normal name lagi adalah piles.
Tapi aku kadang bila sebut buasir ni, aku tertanya-tanya lah, siapa yang cipta term buasir ni?
Mesti Encik Basir.
Tak, sebab bila sebut tu rasa sakit kat bawah.
Oi. Buas sangat. Aku dah sini. Salah cakap. Okay, so without further ado, we wanted to introduce our guest, Dr. Syahril. Nanti dia akan introduce himself. So I think without further delay, kita invite our guest, Mr. Syahril, untuk introduce yourself. Siapa you, and then maybe a short introduction about yourself.
Okay, terima kasih Akmal dengan Aizat kerana jemput saya ke podcast hari ini. Meriah podcast.
Memang. Semangat ni buat sikit. Buat betul dia hari ni.
Okey lah, saya introduce diri saya. Nama saya Syahril, Dr. Syahril lah. Saya pakar bedah am. Okay, saya graduate di UK, Bristol University. And then masters dekat UKM.
Okay.
And then saya ada robotic background jugalah.
Alright.
So sekarang saya adalah general surgeon di Cellgate Specialist Hospital Rawang.
Alright.
Setabaru.
Okay.
Okay. So actually aku mahu tanya soalan yang
Akmal.
Aizat sudah
Yep.
pagi ni. Aizat tanya soalan bagus. Mana asalnya perkataan buasir? Okay, so buasir ni actually is bahasa Arab. Bawasir apparently. Bawasir.
Kau jangan nak buas-buas sangat.
Ya, tak ada.
So dia bahasa Arab.
Bawasir.
So bawasir maksudnya sesuatu di belakang tu lah. Dia cakap ada ketulan di belakang.
I see.
Interesting
kan?
Kau belajar medik berapa tahun dah? Tak tahu kan?
Tak ada dalam buku. Masalahnya tak ada buku.
Tak ada dalam buku,
Buasir tak ada dalam buku. Dia dalam historically sejarah kita baca baru tahu dah. Buasir ni
I see.
it's not even accurate sebenarnya. Buasir ni just means something at the back. Melayu punya definition even kita punya percakapan dekat kopi, buasir just purely means anything kat belakang.
Di belakang.
Okay.
Kan? So the actual diagnose most of the time bila orang cakap buasir, 90% of the time kita cakap pasal hemorrhoid lah.
Betul.
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 Okay. Tapi the 10% tu sebenarnya anything on the back.
I see.
When we say anything on the back, could be anything lah. Could be cancer, could be anal wart, luka, semua pun kita panggil buasir.
Sepatutnya lah.
Sepatutnya lah.
So it's a general term lah.
Yeah, it's a penggunaan yang salah lah sebenarnya. Semua kat bawah sebab kita tak boleh tengok sebenarnya. Nobody can see at the back of yourself kan.
Correct.
So semua orang cakap ada buasir lah. Maksudnya ada sesuatu kat belakang.
Okay.
Itulah. Tak menjawab soalan.
Yeah,
buasir itulah.
Best way. Tak pernah tahu
Dekat dia buas.
Bukan buah. Tahu tu.
Encik Basir
Ya,
lah.
itulah,
Mana-mana.
Buah sih. Okay. Alright. So, doktor sekarang dekat Cellgate dah berapa lama dah doktor?
So Cellgate pun baru buka. So we are almost dah buka lama lah. So clinically dah function maybe close to 1 year.
Setahun
Setahun. So we are new hospital. Okay, new chain of hospital. Cellgate Specialist Hospitals under Cellgate Corporation, which is under PKNS, which is under Kerajaan Selangor. So hospital kita concentrate area Selangor lah. So we have one in Sepang opening soon, end of this year, and also satu lagi Setia Alam. Open Q1 next year, insyaAllah. Okay, recruiting very aggressively at the moment. Datanglah ke Cellgate Hospital Rawang.
Yes, datanglah. And then for those yang nak cari kerja pun mungkin boleh lah pergi cari and send your CV to this hospital SSH.
Pipeline ni ada berapa hospital Dr. Syaril? Yang akan buka
7.
Okay. Dia punya master plan close to 7.
7.
Tapi the confirm one is these 3. I think dia akan fokus these 3 first. Lain tak ada lagi. Tak ada lagi lah, nothing yet. Just on paper je lah.
So far kalau you buka the laman web dekat Cellgate punya ni management ni, dia dah ada 7 tempat di mana
7 tempat
dia punya
dia
ni
plan.
and the appointed contractor dah pun. Cuma yang 3 ni yang dah memang jalan dan already there is the building lah.
Ada physical building.
Dah ada physical building.
Dah ada physical management, recruiting and waiting for to work lah.
That's why nampak one of the location is Mount Kiara.
Betul, correct. Ada
Itu
betul.
mesti high end punya tu.
Tapi Mount Kiara ialah tepi-tepi tu ialah apa? Kan Selangor punya area. So kita akan stay in the Selangor punya
Betul.
part.
Outskirt tu lah. Dekat situ je.
Bukan the
Mount
center.
Kiara macam serambut lah kan.
Montu Kiara lah. Okay. Alright, so Buasi ni kalau ikutkan pengalaman Dr. Syaril kan, is it something common ke in kita punya population?
Oh ya, betul. Okay, what's it is one of the most commonest thing lah.
Commonest,
It's one of the common things lah yang happen. Because Buasi ni dia satu is part of it is alright, is disease jadi penyakit pasal dia punya complication.
Okay.
So Buasi, okay, so kita tukar term lah, saya cakap hemorrhoid lah.
Okay lah.
Lagi
So
senang.
Buasi tak apa, Buasi maksudnya something at the back. So hemorrhoid is actually benda kita discuss ni lah. So hemorrhoid actually is normal organ. Is part of our continence punya organ, orang panggil. Continence tu maksudnya ability kita buang air lah. So it's actually one of the complex organ because if you imagine kita boleh kentut tanpa keluarkan najis. So macam mana tu kan? Kita tak nak fikir tapi kalau orang tanya soalan, macam mana Okay, so that's actually what hemorrhoid is. It's a cushion. Macam cushion mana-mana, dia lembut, kita tekan dia can make. Okay, dia ada kolom dia lah kat situ So ada 3 kolom. So hemorrhoid itself is normal organ. Dia punya main function continence, kawal udara najis keluar lah. So dia jadi problem ialah untuk 3 sebab. Satu, dia bengkak, dia berdarah,
Okay.
dan dia terkeluar, menyebabkan kesakitan.
Okay.
So it's normal, and then because of the fact that dekat bawah tu kebarangkalian nak jadi problem sangat tinggi lah. So sembelit je dia boleh terkeluar.
Betul.
Berak keras boleh berdarah. Kalau berak keras lalu boleh bengkak dan menyebabkan problem. So it's as common as you can think sebenarnya. Cuma dia sometimes dia nak cause so much problem, so orang pun tak adalah jumpa doktor selalu sangat. Buang air besar 2-3 kali sakit, bengkak, lepas tu makan macam biasa, najis dah okey, tak sempat ke GP pun dah okey. So it's common, it comes and go, and then the part that sampai kat saya, general surgeon ni selalunya part yang dah teruk lah. So common. Tapi bila nak perlu jumpa GP, bila jumpa doktor pembedahan tu, the maybe 10% of hemorrhoid baru sampai kat saya lah. So that's hemorrhoid in a nutshell lah.
So macam because I practice in GP, Dr. Syaril, so memang a lot of people came to us when they already experiencing pain. Nak kata discomfort tu most of the time kalau you sembelit memang discomfort. Tapi kadang-kadang dia akan jadi more alarming bila dia nak bangun, dia nak flush, and then dia tengok is blood. So that is why people started to go and seek medical. Sakit tu macam doktor cakap lah, bila sakit dia kadang-kadang dia kata mungkin sebab berak keras kot, sakit lah, jadi macam luka. Dia tahu dah ada luka kot, sakit. Tapi it becomes a bit more alarming bila you nampak is red, kan, berdarah. Barulah dia kata doktor saya berak berdarah. And then kadang-kadang dia tak datang immediately pun. Pagi dah berdarah, dia biar dulu, malam dia berak berdarah lagi, baru dia akan datang ke GP on that night. So dia akan cakap saya berdarah pagi tadi dengan malam ni saya berak lagi sekali, berdarah juga. And then we started to ask lah, ada sembelit ke apa dan sebagainya, ada keluar ke something yang you rasa dan sebagainya lah. So that's what we do, and most of the time kita akan treat dengan tablet Deflon if we suspected hemorrhoid lah doktor. Tapi kalau macam kita nak ceritalah kan, what actually the main causes atau the main culprit, because it's a normal organ kat sana macam doktor cakap, but why it happens in a way that selain daripada constipation yang memang selalu kita dengar, but most of the time constipation ni very rare lah, unless orang yang memang jarang minum air, yang memang tak makan fiber. But mostly selalunya people datang to you or to yang datang dengan hemorrhoid ni, what are the main causes actually?
Okay, so Okay, jawab dua soalan situ lah. Satu betul, patient most of the time datang pasal berdarah.
Darah, betul.
Okay, lain tak scary. Sakit tak scary sangat.
Betul.
Tak comfortable pun tak scary sangat. Tapi darah scary. Tak kisahlah umur berapa. Tapi it takes time juga. Kadang-kadang bila berhenti, then
dia biar je.
okay.
Dia biar je.
Berhenti okay. Maksudnya tak ada problem. So continuously berdarah baru jumpa. So that's one thing kita kena saya sambung cerita kejap lagi lah. Okay, so hemorrhoid, okay, there's one component which is kita panggil macam ada related to pathology lah, which is macam kalau baca buku, kalau Google ada cakap macam portovenous punya hypertension. Maksudnya sistem badan kita ni ada satu part tu dia tinggi ke pressure dekat bahagian hemorrhoid tu is mainly pembuluh darah. So kalau pressure tinggi dia bengkak.
Okay.
Tapi itu minority je.
Minority.
So majority is actually lifestyle. Okay, so lifestyle whatever you describe just now, sembelit, okay, meneran, physical exercise, yang berlebihan lah, angkat gym, okay. So, anything that increase your pressure dekat abdomen can cause pressure dekat bawah tu yang menyebabkan hemorrhoid. The last one is pregnancy lah. Pregnancy one of the more common thing.
Betul.
So it's all related to pressure.
So intra-abdominal pressure lah maksud doktor
in a
kan?
way is cause pressure kat rectum tu yang menyebabkan in a way increase pressure, straining, and then that's what hemorrhoid can become a disease. Jadi penyakit pasal dia dah terkeluar. Like I say, dia bila we cakap lifestyle ni it's not all the time and also takes time lah kan. Bukannya sekali je tiba jadi.
Betul.
For last few years, few months buat benda yang sama, repetition baru dia jadi. So kalau dari segi macam age group wise, okay, dia selalunya tengah-tengah lah. Your lifestyle have significant effect on you for you to have significant pressure down there, develop hemorrhoid punya problem, atau later on in life lah, 55 and above, pasal dah lama hidup kan. Macam-macam problem. Tapi when you go to higher age group ni, you always think about something else lah.
Correct.
More sinister.
Betul.
Okay, the bleeding in a 22-year-old, 17 tahun kat bawah tu tak sama dengan
Bleeding
bleeding
60.
umur 50, 60 kat atas. It's a different ballpark lah in a way kita cakap kan. So kita jarang nak fikir hemorrhoid first lah bila umur yang tua-tua tu. Okay. So secondary penyebab dia, macam Kamal cakap tadi, partly sekarang macam we are in a way gadget dependent lah. Semua orang pun gadget dependent kan sekarang. So we tend to spend our free time lebih in toilet compared to before. Kan, mau ke toilet main phone, okay, scroll benda 5-2 minit asalnya jadi 15-10 minit.
Aduh.
Tengoklah berapa banyak you scroll kan. So it become the fact that you spend longer time in toilet itself memang risiko untuk
maksudnya dia mencangkung, dia duduk tu, itu yang risiko.
Yelah, it's actually a maneuver, satu bentuk posture yang macam meneran lah kan.
So you
walaupun dia tak meneran.
In a way you ada tendency to bukan nak cakap meneran, you ada tendency actually macam nak buang air besar. Sebenarnya kita duduk ni, duduk punya toilet it's not natural. Kalau you
cangkung sebenarnya kan orang kata.
The cangkung is the natural. Okay. Cangkung because you actually open up your the last part of your rectum tu. Align, maksudnya dia straight lah, dia straighten if you cangkung. Kalau you do it's not, it's still at an angle.
Okay.
So that's why sometimes you still meneran walaupun you cangkung. So it's not natural. So if you spend longer time, lagi slow lah transit tu nak keluar. So increase pressure, then you obviously higher risk of
you increase the risk lah.
The risk to get hemorrhoid.
Okay.
So that's added lah our current lifestyle untuk menyebabkan kita lebih prone to hemorrhoid at a younger age. Okay.
Sebab scroll dalam toilet.
Scroll toilet.
Yelah, I mean you are putting yourself a longer time kau duduk dan exposing that area untuk kau meneran lah. Sebab kadang-kadang bila kau scroll ni, kau tak fokus nak buang yang besar tau. Jadi kau macam tahan. Lepas tu tiba-tiba rasa nak terberak, kau terketeran. So macam buat je. Cakap macam biasa buat je. So bila buat macam tu dah
terlike lah.
Kenapa kena like pula? Aduh. Okay. But I totally agree. And then actually I was call bila doktor cakap tadi macam exercise macam pergi gym kan, because kan nowadays a lot of people, our youngsters dah pergi, dia are gym goers, dia orang suka nak get a good physical punya visionary kan, nampak macam tu, and most of the time it requires heavy lifting lah. And saya rasa macam banyaknya macam you buat squat, deadlifting, benda-benda yang memang you put the strain dekat core muscle kan. So is there any macam from your point of view untuk macam prevent from this from happen? I mean it's actually a direct advice to all these gym goers lah, not simply blindly angkat berat macam like nobody business. Maybe ada something tak yang kita kena buat prior to, before kita boleh develop this kind of thing for those yang pergi gym ni, doktor?
Kalau pergi gym, okay, kita can control certain part lah. I mean certain part of lifestyle, I suppose kan. Macam kalau you overweight pun
tendency tinggi juga.
ada tendency to develop it. So susah lah nak cakap. In a way susah nak advise pasal orang nak pergi gym is their choice lah kan.
Betul.
Susah. So the thing is, if you can modify the rest of the habit, you should be okay lah. So just good hydration kan. Orang pergi gym selalunya minum banyak kan. Minum good hydration, good fiber. Use the appropriate punya support. I bukan orang gym, tak pandai sangat, tapi dia
ada yang macam tu lah, belt tu semua tu kan.
If you are doing like proper heavy lifting yang macam 60 kg 100 kg macam benda I pun tak tahu kan, yang memang proper. Of course dia orang-orang gym pun dia tahulah, dia orang rotate dia punya exercise semua. So the thing you can change, you change lah. So for me macam selalunya fiber dan water,
make sure lah,
that's one. So in a way you just have to avoid straining lah when it happen.
Okay.
Tapi the actual, I tak pandai gym. So I not know exactly mana maneuver yang menyebabkan high pressure. Tapi whatever you feel rasa pressure kat situ, those are the thing yang
kena control yang tu lah.
Sikit lah.
But from your experience Syaril, ramai ke gym, kata apa, gym koholic ni yang datang jumpa you? In terms of statistics,
I tak cakap lah ramai, sebab most of the time diorang ni kita panggil asymptomatic punya lah, tak ada simptom sangat. Like I say lah, macam actually memang hemorrhoid punya population most of the time never seek medical advice pun, because macam-macam reason lah, part of it malu ke, segan ke nak check, and most of the time is because it's not causing much problem. Just purely masa buang air besar terkeluar sikit, boleh rasa, and then masuk balik.
Betul.
Kan, so it's most people will not consider that as a problem. So those are the majority of patient kat luar sana, and presumably yang gym goers, and then they will be okay until certain stage. Makin teruk baru jumpa kita. So it's time dependent jugalah macam ni. Masa mula okay, tapi later on in life mungkin baru ada problem.
Tapi doktor, kalau macam contohnya kan macam most of people sama ada dia hide the issue atau dia rasa macam tak ada problem sangat, because probably dia tak tahu the extent of the disease can be very like detrimental in future. So mungkin less of awareness lah. Maksudnya dari segi timeline of the condition tu, dia also tak tahu bila sebenarnya should I seek treatment. Maybe sebab setiap kali berak keras ni boleh masuk. Jadi dia macam tak ada apa-apa. But it's already like a yellow flag lah. Belum lagi red flag, but it's a yellow flag already untuk memberitahu that it's a constant problem. So the question will be bila ataupun at what point of time bila diorang ada this problem yang sebenarnya diorang dah patut dah jumpa either GP ataupun colorectal surgeon. I mean surgeon like you yourself.
Yes, okay, alright. So it's very good question. Memang benda tu je I emphasize most of the time. Bila bleeding, then something
mesti kena pergi.
Hanya bila bleeding lah.
Itu nombor satu lah. Itu the main thing yang memang ada very strong indication something needs to be done. Okay, so once you bleed, the risiko untuk bleeding lagi quite high. Satu. And secondly, bleeding could mean something else. Okay, so bleeding is always dalam perubatan ni, you guys probably know kan, macam especially as a surgeon, first thing kalau bleeding you kena worry about other things first.
Betul.
Which is cancer. Kan, dalam perubatan surgery ni. Okay, so bleeding is one thing that needs to seek doctor. The rest kita cakap is actually fairly subjective. Sangat subjective untuk patient. There are patient yang memang besar, tak boleh masuk kan, tapi patient relax, tak ada apa-apa, tak ada simptom, dia okay, buang air besar pun macam mana, function was okay. So itu indication untuk buat satu, of course ada. Kita boleh buat satu, kita boleh offer treatment, the whatever minimally invasive, bukan minimally invasive, simple treatment to most complicated treatment, surgery semua boleh offer, tapi kita counsel to the patient jika perlu ke tak. Okay, tapi setengah patient small, bleeds a lot sampai
Dan
anemia,
sakit, kadang-kadang sakit.
then itu lagi perlu rawatan lebih awal.
Okay.
So susah nak jawab soalan tu.
So,
Apart
subjektif
from bleeding, then you have to lah very strongly suggest kena jumpa doktor.
So usually kalau macam macam kalau GP lah kan, sebab dia orang jumpa dulu patient kan.
diorang
So
first
I
kali.
think for the GPs maybe you can advise for those yang memang selalu datang dengan issue of the hemorrhoid, maybe you kena tanya balik semula, reassess balik that if it's too frequent and it's too much causing problem dalam dia punya daily living, then maybe it's time to go seek proper treatment. Bukanlah proper, maksudnya a more advanced kind of care, which is surgical lah. Sama ada, because kita pun ada beberapa cara kita approach kan doktor kan, dari segi macam doktor kata lah, bukan kita nak terus potong whatsoever. So there are modalities to this. So maybe we can actually, doktor boleh explain sikit what are the modalities yang sebenarnya as a surgeon can offer to patient-patient yang ada hemorrhoid ni.
So I think macam before, betul kita dia macam sometimes we cakap ada certain kriteria macam bleeding baru jumpa refer surgeon. Tapi sekarang ni we should have lower threshold lah.
Betul,
tak
betul.
perlu pun macam bleeding atau teruk kan, you actually can refer straight away.
Correct.
Diagnose
daripada GP
hemorrhoid
lah.
terus jumpa surgeon. Okay, the reason being dulu ada big gap between conservative management dengan surgical management. Okay, conservative management makan ubat, kita ask you makan fiber.
Yelah, lifestyle modification.
Tapi the next step is terus surgery.
Betul.
Okay, so for most patient think is small, maybe certain cakap trivial.
Okay.
That gap is too big. Nak masuk OT lah, nak operate lah, sakit. So nobody will take that risk kan. It's so much gap. I pun macam kalau nak offer patient surgery pun, it's going to be painful. The discussion is always, is it worthwhile to do it now?
Okay.
Is it worthwhile to do it now? Sebab daripada tak sakit jadi sakit. That's the first thing yang patient akan
Concern lah.
The outcome of not sakit to sakit jadi difficult decision. Certain penyakit lain lah macam cancer kan. So you take all the necessary risk. Tak apalah sakit macam mana pun kita nak cure.
Betul.
So hemorrhoid ni susah sikit. The barrier nak jump tu memang besar. Okay. See, masa all this while lah macam I've been surgeon maybe I don't know how many years lah. Lupa dah. Tak ada dah tu sangat. Maybe okay. So dulu every time kita jumpa patient, kita nak offer tu I take the view of the patient lah. I tak nak offer benda yang make you miserable.
Betul.
Okay, tapi macam lately or last few years kita ada banyak option. Okay, for me yang penting nak bridge tu ialah patient tak nak pergi OT sebenarnya.
Okay.
Most patient tak nak pergi OT. It's not worthwhile lah for them kan. I pun ada patient who I had procedure done. Even for macam small minimally invasive macam doktor, I wish I think about it a bit more lah before proceed. Walaupun kita dah counsel properly kan, because before is not too bad. Now is similar, although dia tak ada, tapi I would not go through it again. So kind of that lah. Macam you appreciate that kan, memang so sekarang ni kita ada macam treatment yang lebih gentle. Okay, that's the word I like to use, gentle. And then dia actually more or less painless. Kita tak boleh guarantee lah pain free macam doktor susah. But it's painless. So bila dah ada treatment macam ni, I am very strongly advocating patient to take this treatment. Pasal why would not you take it? Okay. The barrier is always price lah, which is fine, tak apa, itu lain cerita lah. Tapi if given option, okay, so nowadays ada laser hemorrhoid. Okay, kalau okay lah, senang saya just
list down kan.
So the extreme punya surgery is hemorrhoidectomy. Hemorrhoidectomy maksudnya kita remove all the hemorrhoid. So you bayangkan kat belakang tu tempat you sensitive or somebody cut it, and then sometimes the luka we leave it for a while to heal itself, sebab tak semestinya boleh tutup all the time. Takes time to recover, and who would want to do that? So after counsel, most of the time patient akan tak apalah doktor, tengok macam mana.
Maksudnya lepas operation nak buat yang besar
sakit kan.
It's a miserable for them lah. That's why doktor cakap tadi, putting people into misery lah
It's
kan.
miserable. Tapi yalah, of course kalau perlu kita buat, kita akan counsel, kita
betul.
And then people stay for in the ward for a while, just mainly for pain management,
Pain control, betul.
Then we have a better treatment sikit, ada laser hemorrhoid, less minimally invasive, kita macam probe, laser probe macam lidi sate. Okay, we burn the vessel that supply the hemorrhoid. Much better outcome. Tapi still masuk OT, kena bius, spinal anesthesia ke general anesthesia ke, tidur habis. Still OT procedure kan. So the new ones actually dah lama benda ni, the electrotherapy. Okay. Electrotherapy ni dia gentle in a way. Satu, it does not require cutting.
Okay.
So first thing cakap patient tak ada cutting. Patient okay sikit. Patient macam okay, tak ada potol tu. Okay, I'm listening. So dia macam okay sikit. Second, mungkin tak perlu masuk OT. Okay, pun diorang something that they very keen of. Kalau treatment yang tak masuk OT ni, tak risau sangat. Okay, electrotherapy ni it just involves electrodes, selalunya dua electrodes. Dia electrochemical punya reaction dekat hemorrhoid tissue tu menyebabkan vessel-vessel kat situ dia berhenti daripada darah tu berhenti lah macam tu
Kira kecut lah.
Dia kecut.
So the concept is still macam electro burning ke macam mana tu? Dia
konsep dia dia tak ada burning part. Dia electrochemicals, maksudnya the vessel is been senang cakap matikan lah vessel, small vessel tu. And then it's not thermal. Thermal different. Thermal bakar, laser is thermal. So dia electrochemical. Susah nak escape lah nak explain. Tapi if you want to understand it, it's not thermal. Bukan bakar. Okay, and then the effect, satu lagi patient nak tahu ialah outcome. So outcome dia okay, efektif tak doktor? Okay, dia is not superior to other treatment, tapi at least is similar.
Alright, okay.
Tapi
That's good.
dia similar. So good enough sebenarnya. Sometimes because certain diseases memang ada gold standard.
Yep.
It's fine. Kalau gold standard means paling sesuai tu.
Itulah.
Terbaik.
Betul.
Tapi hemorrhoid ni sometimes I say that ada element of subjectivities tu, apa yang patient nak, what you want to achieve kan. So it's good buffer punya treatment for me. Tengah-tengah tu this one you can try. Lepas tu kalau tak jadi boleh try sekali lagi.
Okay, faham.
You ada multiple treatment jika perlu. Kalau besar-besar you can do multiple. Okay. And then the good thing is electrotherapy ni, which is dia ada brand name, boleh cakap ke?
Saya rasa tak ada masalah kot. Boleh.
Okay, so combination ni ada Xroid. Okay.
Xroid.
Nama dia. Xroid ni dah lama daripada US. It come with a different name. Lepas tu macam I think adalah macam take over of the ni semua. So, nama dia sekarang Xroid lah. Asal daripada UK. Dia punya trademark daripada UK.
Xroid
Xroid.
EXROID.
Macam X-Men lah.
EX. Bekas.
Maknanya bekas hemorrhoid.
Yelah.
Xroid.
Alright. So dia okay, what I was saying just now. So dia kasih option to patient yang before susah kita kasih option. Contohnya macam patient pregnant woman, right? Pregnant perut besar, so uncomfortable kan. Lepas tu in patient with pregnancy ni kalau dia jadi symptomatic, contoh thrombus ataupun strangulated atau painful hemorrhoid, abdominal hemorrhoid, the treatment option involve kalau perlu surgery still, which is masuk OT kan. Lepas tu you have your risk to your pregnancy.
Correct.
And then mummies don't want to take, mothers or want to be mothers, they don't want to take risk to the pregnancy. Macam susah lah nak offer kan. And then we start off just cakap prevention lah, maksudnya masa pregnant tu kena jaga supaya ni. Tapi now we can use, pasal it's a simple procedure, about 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes. Okay, and then patient just screw their care, give sedation yang sesuai untuk pregnant woman. And then we can try to achieve some improvement. Okay, maybe sama cure tu susah sikit, still pressure ada.
Betul.
So some improvement. Atau beberapa cases patient yang memang bed bound, old, multiple comorbids, we never anesthesia, we never touch or offer anything. Very high risk kan. So memang tak ada option. Dulu kita cakap okay, seats bath ke, tak anusol ke, Deflon, itu je kita boleh cakap. So now we can, because it just involve it's like say painkiller sikit or sedation sikit, and we can do it. Kat daycare. Kalau inpatient tepi katil pun boleh.
Alright.
So it's like
convenient lah.
It's convenient and opens so much option for patient. This is all for patient. Kalau I say before, every time I buat hemorrhoid procedure ni, I cakap I wish there's something in between, not so bad but good effect. Tapi macam I can offer to all. So this is like I say lah, it's a good bridging punya therapy. And,
Tapi from your experience, Syaril, definitely before you offer something yang either non-invasive, there's always a segment of conservative, betul tak?
yeah, betul.
Medical therapy one. This pool of treatment usually yang supplement banyak masuk, krim tak apa-apa boleh kecutkan, hemorrhoid, buasi and whatnot. How effective is that?
Okay, kita macam dari segi anything physical, topical, benda yang kita letakkan situ, is lebih kepada symptomatic relief, depends on the symptom. So the sizes will not reduce.
Size takkan reduce.
So kalau gatal mungkin membantu sikit.
Okay.
Uncomfortable mungkin membantu sikit, tapi it will not reduce the size.
Dia takkan kurangkan size.
Tak kurangkan size.
Untuk krim-krim ni semua.
Tak. Actually the more effective is actually ice. Kita panggil ice finger kan. Letak ice kat belakang tu, it helps reduce the size.
Sejuk lah.
Sejuk. Itu pun jadi seksi. Asalnya kurangkan sakit, tapi kadang-kadang jadi seksi sikit lah.
Aku beku ni.
Tapi ada cara-cara dia lah. Kita advise lah berapa lama kejap kita. So mainly itu useful bila dia bengkak terus lah. And then treatment pun selalunya kita advocate just general treatment yang selalu ada, semua orang pun kasih kat farmasi boleh dapat Deflon.
OTC Deflon.
Deflon OTC. Okay, just help with actually Deflon ni macam famous lah kat Malaysia, tapi masa saya kat overseas Deflon ni jarang kasi.
Jarang.
Tu saya tak tahu, tapi tak apa, it works. It works. Ada satu alternatif lagi, saya tak ingat, lebih kurang Deflon juga. So we give that. Useful untuk small ones. Kalau big one, it will not help that much to reduce the size, but it's a bullet berguna lah, tapi tak semestinya efektif 100% lah. And then the rest macam-macam, all the herbals ataupun supplement lain tu semua, most of the time kalau dia ada effect, is lebih kepada laxative effect. Maksudnya you buang air besar, lagi mudah,
you reducekan the recurring dan juga the pain episode tu lah.
Tak worsenkan the situation, tapi most of the time ialah tak ada effectivity tu mungkin ada, but not so much lah.
But what's your take on topical steroid? I think I pernah nampak.
Topical steroid in theory sebenarnya kita should not give lah.
You should not give
hemorrhoid, pasal you thin the hemorrhoids further, and then lagi senang nak berdarah. It helps immediately. Steroids, right? You put anything, it feels better. Macam sebenarnya dekat bengkak macam mana pun dia akan reduce. The swelling will reduce, but the subsequent effect is you thin the mucosa or the lining, senang lagi nak berdarah lah.
Sebab dia bukan skin tau, dia actually internal punya mucosa. Lagi dia senang nak thin as compared to our skin lah kan. I think betul lah macam Deflon kan is also a primary medication untuk macam varicose vein kan. So sama juga, I think for the vascular, I think they will agree. You bagi yang macam the small varicose, it will help Deflon, but the one bigger one yang memang macam ular tu, it won't really help, because you need to go for either venesection ataupun ni lah sclerotherapy juga at the end of the day, sebab you need to close. Kalau tidak, dia akan still varicose juga.
There's a role, but yelah to certain extent lah.
To certain extent.
Ada satu lagi yang kita selalu pandang rendah, six bath.
Six bath, betul.
Six bath tu really,
I think for
bukannya
smaller,
aku ada pengalaman lah.
Orang ada pengalaman.
macam six bath sambil terduduk tu, aku rasa lain macam
Bukan pengalaman sendiri.
tak apa je.
Aku masih ada tadi.
Betul, siapa yang ada pengalaman dia tahu.
Tak apa je. Tak apalah, aku faham, tak apa, it's okay.
Aku main gosip tadi. Maksudnya
Boleh
betul.
cerita,
Betul lah
share lah.
Syaril.
Padahal aku share pula.
Tak ada kaitan lah. Aduh.
Tak, still stigma of nak acknowledge the fact that hemorrhoid ni memang satu benda yang memalukan, betul
Ya.
lah. Dari segi lelaki ke perempuan entah lagi.
Betul.
And then nak jumpa doktor, apa ni nak tengok-tengok.
Betul.
So benda tu macam mana Dr. Syaril? Adakah sebab it involve backside kan?
Involve bossy tu. The definition of bossy kan, backside kan.
First of all, kita tak boleh nak tengok.
Ya, betul.
Kita kena rasa. Kau nak tengok pun kena menonggeng dekat cermin. Aku pernah buat juga. Asal aku
Dia nak buat sisbah.
Kau jangan nak taping kat sini. No. I mean a lot of people yang bila kita jumpa, walaupun kadang-kadang patient doktor lelaki, dia jumpa dengan kita doktor lelaki, kadang-kadang they still have the sense of macam self esteem yang agak rendah lah nak cakap dengan kita. Kadang-kadang dia cakap je, doktor saya ada buasi. And then kita kadang-kadang memang tengok record. Kalau dekat clinic management system kita akan nampak, oh dia ni ada beberapa kali datang for Deflon. So some of the time kita rasa macam kita ni nak tahu how extensive gonna be, because as what we said tadi, kalau kita patut lowerkan threshold kita, kalau dah selalu sangat almost like 2 minggu sekali kau datang dengan benda macam ni, so it already raise up the concern that you need to be seen by a proper specialist, betul tak? Tapi kita nak tengok pun dia orang pun macam tak apa doktor, tapi memang biasa macam ni. Selalunya saya ambil yang masuk ubat masuk bontot tu, yang sub care tu, and then makan ubat tu okay. So kita pun rasa macam okay, patient diffuse kan. So bila jadi macam tu, kita pun tak tahu the extensive of the condition kan. So how can we approach doktor? Macam mungkin as a surgeon, mungkin you dah banyak cakap dengan this kind of patient, but for us lah, macam orang yang dekat primary line ni, how can we advocate our patient kalau datang sebab macam ni? We would like to actually say, jangan malu, this is a condition and this can actually lead to a more serious problem. Macam tu.
Okay, I think benda ni macam every time I deal with case hemorrhoid pun, I think the same. Macam mana nak dapatkan orang datang when they have hemorrhoids? Okay, actually a lot of it is cultural kan. So actually cultural, sebab kita cultural in a way macam lebih kepada Melayu lah, I suppose Melayu. Tapi of course lah, we live in a society, so whatever one culture practice, it overspill to other culture. So overall, dia jadi bukan benda yang open.
Okay.
Tapi somehow people discuss masa kopi minum kopi orang discuss hemorrhoid.
Macam mana dia discuss? Aku ada buasir.
Somehow.
Buasir kau besar, buasir aku besar. Macam tu kot.
Dia betul. Buasir is a coffee talk conversation. Kedai kopi. Ni conversation memang dari dulu lagi. That's why they self-diagnose each other.
Mesti ni.
Dia bukan tengok, dia diagnose history only. Okay, so that's it's a strange. Tapi to seek treatment is the element of buka seluar, kain. Itu cultural lah.
Ini kat belakang.
Kat belakang. So benda ni I fikir seorang takkan jawab soalan lah sebenarnya. Semua orang policy maker fikir pun susah. So it's just a overall awareness, and for me certain thing that make people able to bridge that from takut jumpa doktor, unfortunately fear factor je. So cakap takut cancer. We need to make sure bukan cancer. Darah lah, kalau darah. Kalau simptom itu susah. Selalu simptom macam yang macam bonjol sikit-sikit tu memang susah kita nak advocate patient.
Nak suruh dia datang kan.
Pasal kan asalnya datang tak sakit, bila doktor buat proctoscopy, which is examination tengok belakang nak diagnose hemorrhoid tu, tiba-tiba sakit. Lepas tu tak datang lagi dah lepas tu. Kan?
And then dia akan decide tak nak bagi lagi check dah.
So it's difficult, and it's not one, berapa lama dah semua orang berfikir benda sama. But we advocate satu je lah, kalau dah berumur especially, kita all we can do is try to eliminate the risk of cancer, and then somehow that helps patient come to us, and then we doing the right thing also lah as a doctor.
And then I notice also another reason untuk orang jam daripada malu kepada nak jumpa doktor ialah sakit.
Ya,
The
betul.
moment dia dah sakit kat bawah tu, malu semua tolak tepi dah. Need to seek doktor.
Betul. Lepas tu moment sakit hilang,
tak jumpa dah.
Tak jumpa. So betul lah, pain and worry. Fear.
Dua tu lah.
Most of the time kalau sakit memang tak jumpa. And then if somebody can come up with good advice how to bring patient hemorrhoid ni actually jumpa, then
that's
nice
the best lah.
Siapa yang tengok podcast ni kan boleh.
Betul. I think
idea.
Betul. Maksudnya this is something for maybe for the GP lah, ataupun siapa-siapa yang memang doctors yang memang rasa macam if you have relative ke kawan-kawan you ke yang memang always complain of something like this, maybe it's time to say, look, you might be having cancer though.
Betul.
I mean maybe you will increase dia punya fear, because fear is something yang boleh buat people do things that is beyond whatever they are thinking. Betul tak?
Outside their comfort zone.
Mungkin AI boleh diagnose hemorrhoid. Boleh ke?
I don't think so, because unless you have
try.
Siapa?
I pernah try compare gambar hemorrhoid dengan cancer. Tapi dari luar lah, external kan, AI. Tapi masalahnya AI dia punya database is gambar
dia gambar
cancer.
Dia
so they always able to get it
skew
right.
to that.
They able to get it right lah. Tapi sebenarnya on mata kasar, even the most experienced GP pun kadang miss.
Betul.
Even doctors will miss.
Betul.
Kalau kita tak proctoscope proper, actually we don't see the whole column, we cannot diagnose hemorrhoid. So it takes more. So AI itulah macam I terfikir kat tu. Tapi actually kalau sekarang punya data dia akan cakap kind of betul lah. cancer mana, hemorrhoid mana. Sambil that's because dia tak habis. Tapi going back tu, aku mahu cakap macam actually betul lah the conversation kan. Kadang-kadang buat ni orang cakap coffee talk conversation, dia self-diagnose ada.
Betul.
Okay, dia macam aku ada ni lah, ada punggung, ada biji sikit lah, terkeluar masa berak kan. Lepas tu lagi seorang tu dia pandai sikit pasal dia ada. So dia cakap betul lah tu hemorrhoid.
Hemorrhoid tu.
Hemorrhoid tu.
Dia dah buat sibas dah. Nak buat.
Dia confident betul lah.
Hemorrhoid
Because
tu.
symptom dia similar,
Yes.
but not say the same. Kan. Lepas tu setengah patient macam malu lah cakap dia berdarah pak dia tak cerita pun. Dia cerita baru tersebut. So betul dia jadi macam kau diagnose kau, so dia decided dia reassured lah. Actually memang aku ada hemorrhoid. So
okay.
tak sebut. Tapi instead
Jangan malu je.
Sebenarnya aku tak ada hemorrhoid.
Tapi instead the other person tu if kita ada awareness je, hopefully dengan podcast ni ke atau you baca mana-mana sama je. Actually better check takut cancer.
Okay.
That word
Itu paling penting.
that word alone will help in theory lah help this patient to take the next step.
Right.
Make sure kita pastikan tak ada cancer lah.
Okay.
It's a good advice rather than
Betul.
reassuring
Especially
them.
macam dia cakap tadi lah. Kalau yang cakap ni umur kita 40 plus and above, the risk of getting a normal hemorrhoid is no more dalam list. Kita dah cakap pasal more on the sinister type. Cancer lah, big polyps, and then kita cakap pasal diverticulitis. These are all more on the older gap kind of generation rather than yang younger one kan.
Tapi I like the advocation lah. Kalau takut apa pun yang pasti prevent cancer.
Betul.
Lupa for to check untuk rule out cancer.
Ya,
Itu
betul.
paling penting.
Especially kalau kita tahu pula macam ada family history of ada. Lagi kita akan cakap, look, you guys ada strong family history kan. I think we better check this before it's too late.
Yes.
Bukan kita nak ni pun kan. Sebab lagi satu, some hemorrhoid is pretty much internal, doktor.
Yeah,
kan?
betul,
So bila internal, you don't see. You have to go for protoscope. Tapi make sure kalau you nak buat protoscope pun, kalau yang for those GP lah, kalau you tak biasa buat protoscope pun, better refer. Sebab rather than macam you induce the pain that people don't want to go to see you anymore, lebih baik you kata you mungkin ada internal hemorrhoid, might as well I get you to see a surgeon. Because surgeon memang dia akan tengok. Even kadang-kadang macam you cakap lah, an expert surgeon pun might miss. Betul tak? Sebab kadang-kadang the positioning, patient training ke apa, kadang-kadang it might kacau juga kan you punya vision. So better still refer. To me tu je, I memang nak keep our practice safe. So that nanti pada dia datang sini, maybe this is a limitation of GP, so that nanti dia boleh tell dia punya coffee talk punya gang tu, korang baik pergi baik kau check. Kadang-kadang tak ada tapi sebenarnya ada.
Any rule of
ni.
PR lah, Dr. Syaril? Let's say GP tak boleh buat protoscope atau Dr. Obident, dia buat PR to fill.
Okay, PR
Tapi apa?
Dia suka.
asyik lah, asyik lah. PR lah.
Feel the cushion lah.
So hemorrhoid actually you should not diagnose with PR alone.
Okay.
Because it's soft.
Betul.
So you can feel the cushion and then yelah, you feeling soft tissue.
Soft tissue je lah.
Daging or muscle. So
It
you
doesn't
cannot,
warrant you pun kan.
you tak boleh diagnose. So you not. It's a visual punya
Visual
examination and visual diagnosis. PR alone does not means is there ada ke tak ada tak.
Dia nak ambil gambar sendiri pun tak boleh. Memang kena masukkan.
Itulah macam at one point memang you actually protoscope is one of the thing that prevent patient coming. At one point
Betul.
I fikir boleh tak kita buat macam kamera kecil macam pen ni kan. Macam-macam lah fikir kan macam kita tapi busy buat benda lain kan. At one point tu macam shall I device benda macam ni kecil je kan, painless kan. Sekarang macam-macam ni kamera very small.
Yes.
So somebody somebody can come up with this innovation. I
Masuk
kasi
dalam tu.
free idea.
Yes.
Small je.
Macam Nestle punya kamera kan kecil je kan, fiber optic.
Kecil-kecil. Sekarang kan telinga tu yang
Sekarang itu tak payah pergi klinik. The parents boleh buat dah sebab dah ada kamera kan. Tengok kat phone kan macam
like
tu.
that. Painless kan, macam size smaller than size pen pun okay.
Sebab orang takut doktor tengok protoscope tu.
betul.
Ui.
Memang I macam
Banyak pengalaman lah. Sial lah.
Bukan. I mean kita kan dulu buat posting
Yelah,
surgery ni.
yelah,
So bila kita cakap kat patient
Besar
kan,
tu.
it's like if you do and then you saw patient macam straining and sakit, you don't feel like you want to do it anymore. So macam as a GP, I tak pernah buat tau proctoscope ni sebab I know it's painful and then kita tengok pengalaman bila tengok patient kan, bukan tengok pengalaman sendiri, tengok pengalaman, it's painful. So bila kita rasa macam tu and we induce the pain, we know that the patient akan jadi macam that's it lah, enough, I don't want to do this anymore. So kita akan menghalang dia bila kita refer dia pergi surgery, dia tak nak buat sebab dia tahu dekat sana kena buat lagi. So rather than that, so that's why I said maybe for the GP ataupun orang yang tengok and then you don't feel comfortable untuk buat benda tu, refer. So that biar dia sekali buat and it's confirmed, terus treatment. Rather than banyak kali the series of poking the ass tu.
And this proctoscope tak pernah go through evolution tau.
Betul.
For how many years?
It's very rigid, you know.
Macam tu je bentuk dia kata.
Nak macam mana lagi? Duri-duri ke? Kau pun.
Nak duri-duri nak cari macam mana? Possible ke?
For certain people.
For certain people. Tapi for certain people ni yang banyak masalah dengan hemorrhoid ni. Because of those things kan. So bahaya sikit.
Adakah benda tu betul, Dr. Syarif?
I mean the fact that if let's say the cases of I know it's a bit stigmatized tapi we have to talk about it. Contohnya macam macam ni kita panggil
Male sex
contoh MSM for male having sex with male kan, dia ada anal penetration. Is that a cause itself to cause hemorrhoid ataupun other diseases of the colon? Rectum?
Okay, dia susah ni, area yang berbeza.
Tapi kalau tak jawab tak apa doktor, kita tinggalkan for a discussion lah.
Ya, paling senang tak ada associated
it doesn't cause hemorrhoid lah.
So tak adalah. So it does not lah affect hemorrhoid. Benda lain tu kena tanya, tak tahulah nak tanya siapa.
Tapi back to the fundamental of pathophysiology is pressure.
Correct.
Unless kalau kau tengah ada kaitan unsur meneran.
Ada tak rasa itu?
Aku tak tahu.
Tak tahu. Mana lah tahu.
Dia akan simpan ke?
Kenapa kita punya podcast ni dah lain macam? Tak tahu. Tukar topik. Okay, alright. So I think doktor, kalau contohnya macam is this X-Roid punya kind of treatment ni, is it offered nationwide ataupun ada setengah-setengah center je yang actually offer this X-Roid?
Okay, alright. So dia so sekarang ni baru masuk last year. So dia lebih more widespread and then in theory kita kasih contoh lah dekat UK, I've been to training there kejap lah nak tengok kan. Macam is very accessible. Dia accessible macam multiple places ada. Macam memang senang je lah. Dia pun under the healthcare system. NHS is the public lah. So banyak lah. So kat Malaysia baru and then lebih kepada buat masa ni mainly private centers lah. So the one that do it is at the moment surgeons. Alright, general surgeon or colorectal surgeons. Dia tak dia tak boleh government service. I think dia kena bayar sikit lah. So dia macam itu isi sistem Malaysia lah. Banyak lagi perlu di-improve that part kan. Sebab to be honest, kalau I government service lagi, I will always advocate ni macam compliant patient better, you know. That's what you want. Ada tapi kena bayar. You kena fork out sikit. You kena fork out the system.
Dia macam kita bayar the macam disposable. Kita bayar dia macam kita bayar implant.
Macam implant semua lebih kurang lah macam itu je.
But the equipment itself, is it like macam memang ada disposable after pakai kat patient? I think we are paying for that lah.
You pay for that. It's like too small. The best way to describe it is dua lidi sate tapi tak tajam.
Metal lah, metal.
Metal. It's soft but it's blunt. It's blunt and it's pliable lah, dia gerak-gerak semua. And you just put on the hemorrhoid tissue. Tapi it takes time sikit supaya dia punya electrochemical to reaction to happen. And most of the time patient akan rasa macam dia macam sengal.
Aku geli-geli.
Macam
sebab Aizat dia nak pergi try. Lepas ni nanti dia daftar lah ke SS Segit tu.
Kau ni apa?
sengal tak nak
Tak tahu rasa macam mana sengal, tak tahu.
Dia sengal sikit, macam tight sikit rasa itu. Tapi most of the time patient comfortable.
How many minutes?
Comfortable.
Depends on the size, depend on the
tadi kan macam around 50 to 30 minutes kan?
You letak lah 30 minutes.
Maybe one column 6-7 minutes, another column 6-7
I see.
minutes.
And for you as an operator, you can see the changes. Maksudnya bila kita tak, you can see. Interesting weh.
Dia cakap up to 20% immediately akan reduce up to 20 to 40% I think. Tapi the rest take about 1 week 1 month tu betul-betul ada full effect.
Because it's chemical kan, dia ambil take time jugalah. Alright.
Dia tak macam bending kan cara. Macam kita dah bend, dia akan keluar sendiri.
Ya,
Yang ni tak ada
Dia tak ada.
Oh.
Dia punya aim of treatment similar je semua. Semua kita nak reduce the blood flow.
Okay.
So
Shrinking
tu
kan.
je. Whatever you can do to reduce the blood flow, that's what you do. So whichever the least traumatic option tu je yang kita
nak.
kita kasih kat
Sebab
patient.
ada my patient kata kan, dia buat bending is painful.
Sakit
Sangat sakit. Lepas tu fail pula tu, terkeluar
Tapi
getahnya.
kalau logiknya, patutnya it would be should not be painful kan for bending.
Bending sepatutnya tak painful.
sepatutnya.
It's a matter of the positioning of the hemorrhoid. So hemorrhoid yang lower down, dah dekat nak jadi external tu, the closer to you are to the skin.
Mungkin dia terkena pada dia ni lah.
So
I see.
sometimes kita pun warn patient lah, macam hemorrhoid is too low, closer to the skin. So I demonstrate kat dia orang macam kena pinching macam ni.
Sakit lah.
So that's what gonna happen kalau kita close to the skin. Dia pinch you,
Sakit lah.
you akan rasa tegang, sakit lah. memang
Sakit lah.
sakit.
Kulit.
Kalau you mucosa dalam, tak ada apa.
Tak rasa.
Betul.
So even kalau you pinch the mucosa tapi you tarik dekat skin. So dia okay. So most of the time kalau you experience, it should not be.
Kalau
painful
macam
lah.
external yang very near to that skin area, is that extroid one of the
Okay,
treatment yang
so,
kita rasa more preferable tu?
Tak, external hemorrhoid. Okay, kalau nak just clarify lah, internal hemorrhoid means hemorrhoid tu dari dalam dia keluar. External dia kat tepi luar sahaja.
Perianal tu.
Perianal tu So is in a way external ni rawatan ni limited sikit.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Extrude tak jalan, laser pun not advisable. Selalunya kita excision.
Major surgery lah.
Dia kira surgery lah. So memang
Bukanlah
external-
major, tapi surgery lah.
Surgery lah.
Okay.
Tapi sebenarnya external hemorrhoid ni dia jarang cause much problem. Sebab dia not as vascular as internal hemorrhoid.
This
Macam-
one, maybe
macam
this
skin
one
tag lah.
mungkin inilah kot yang a lot of patient cakap,
ya,
dia
betul.
nampak kat luar
Nampak
tapi
kat
tak
luar.
sakit.
Okay.
So this is external lah.
External.
I
Most of the time
see.
dia tak cause problem sangat. So ni pun satulah sebab the barrier to treatment is quite high. So we can most of the time can offer assistance
surgery
je.
saja.
So most of the time kalau you okay, maybe
Ada role sclerotherapy tak doktor? Macam kan kalau skin tag kan kita boleh buat sclerotherapy. Is there any role for sclerotherapy untuk external ni?
Sclerotherapy, external sclerotherapy not as popular as before.
Oh, I see.
We rarely do now, to be honest. Not sure why, to be honest. Tapi because ada option kot, ada better option.
Yep.
We don't do
And
sclerotherapy.
maybe the risk of recurrence pula kan kita pun tak tahu. I mean, yalah, the study.
Most of the time is the scarring and also bila nak buat subsequent procedure jadi susah sikit kalau kita sclerotherapy benda. Not just hemorrhoid lah, most things lah.
A lot of things lah.
Tapi
Biasanya
I nak go back a bit on our discussion, especially on painful hemorrhoids. Kenapa dia sakit daripada tak sakit jadi sakit?
Okay, alright. So sakit most of the time is tense pressure. Okay. So what happen is blood flow into your hemorrhoids cannot flow out for whatever reason. Swelling, thrombus maksudnya darah beku. Darah beku.
Yelah,
Itu-
kita macam block kan
block.
sekejap kan bila
dalam
pressure tu.
dalam surgery banyak lah kalau kita belajar dulu. I think just in general public pun anything that block and increase pressure cause pain.
Okay.
Appendix pun part of it macam tu kan, kalau ada batu dalam appendix tu, the increase pressure cause
Yes,
pain.
yes, yes.
Batu hempedu pun sama.
sama.
So it's similar mechanism lah.
Alright.
So block increase pressure cause pain.
Pain.
Okay, so that's the main reason lah. So kalau swelling alone selalunya tak cause pain. Besar macam mana pun kalau blood flow okay. So that's the cause lah kalau macam swollen painful. So that's why treatment ni pun selalunya kita have to unblock it dengan buat small incision keluarkan darah beku.
What do you call it?
It's called evacuation of clot in hemorrhoid. Itu pun macam is a very macam kita dah 2026 kan. It's very macam rudimentary punya treatment lah.
Might as well sebenarnya might as well you exercise. Macam tu lah kan
Some
sebenarnya.
people just exercise terus lah. Tapi itulah kadang-kadang swollen hemorrhoid ni kita pun most people tengok surgeon kan. Kadang-kadang ada most of the time when things are swollen, you tend to cut more. Everything
Correct.
swell, you cut so much more when it actually small. So actually bila dah swollen, you say actually you
Dah
cut a
tak adalah
lot.
besar sangat pun.
Maksudnya you takut cut
terlebih lah.
normal tissue.
Oh.
And then you deal with ada complication lain lah.
Itu yang sakit tu.
Selalunya infection lah most of the time sebab luka jadi besar.
Luka besar actually macam one of the treatment hemorrhoid ni adalah risiko of contracture. So lepas potong dia kecut.
Oish.
So
Tempat buang yang besar tu.
tempat besar tu boleh kecut. So that's why macam ada elemen of being conservative sikit lah.
Dia kalau kau gelak je aku tahu apa benda kau fikir. Tembak laser lah zoom keluar taiknya kan.
Tak, maksudnya makin akan ada sembelit lah. Betul tak?
Maksudnya dia jadi problem lain.
Ha.
Sembelit is one of it, tapi the opening itself could be smaller.
Oh.
Faham tak?
Dia jadi macam stricture sikit lah.
Stricture, yes,
Kecil,
betul. That's the word,
stricture.
stricture. And that's the last thing we would like to do lah on the patient.
Oh, yo.
And kalau stricture, it's not as flexible lah. Dia sebab stricture kan macam fibrous sikit
Yeah,
kan. So
fibrous
dia akan
tissue.
jadi macam sangat fix.
Yeah.
So opening tu is going to be problem lah.
Yeah, treatment dia complicated and
I
one of the
see.
complication that we really need to avoid lah.
Doktor, kalau macam kan bila kita ada macam that kind of pressurized cushion yang menyebabkan ada thrombotic tu, I don't know lah, this one is just a very nasty kind of feeling lah. Kalau contohnya bila dia thrombotic tu, dia boleh tak jadi emboli and causes problem lain pula dekat the plexuses ataupun dekat kawasan lain tu.
Okay.
Because it's thrombus kan?
Yeah, betul. So hemorrhoid punya vessels, they are very very small vessels. So if the clot is big enough, it will thrombose. I think risk of emboli only happen on medium or larger size.
I see.
Veins.
Vessels lah.
So dia
It doesn't cost as
tak
much lah
tak ada,
untuk
tak
emboli.
ada.
Because yelah kita risau juga kan benda-benda macam tu. That means it still can cause a lot of things lah, stroke ke apa. Orang risau tu je, bila ada darah beku je orang dah fikir stroke. Itu je orang fikir.
Okay, yeah, it's a different. Okay, kalau emboli tu maksudnya darah beku pergi somewhere
Pergi
else.
somewhere else.
Can only happen kalau bigger vessels.
Okay,
So
alright.
this one is
Small one.
Small one.
Dia macam capillaries kan.
Capillaries, yes.
kecil-kecil.
It's just between capillary artery dengan vein tu. Macam yelah kena belajar anatomi dia kan. So it's very very small.
Very small.
That's
Tapi
why
boleh
it's
juga guna untuk takutkan orang lah kan. Dia kata macam kau ada darah beku ni takut nanti berjalan-jalan ke. I mean there's a way of telling the lay people go for treatment lah. Jangan biar kan. It's painful what kan. Kan macam sakit kan.
kena dua ada sebenarnya. That's why aku dijemput.
Tiba.
Dr. Syarif, meaning steroid tak suitable for thrombus hemorrhoid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tak suitable.
Tak suitable.
So thrombus dia jadi treatment memang limited.
Oh, limited.
So dia jadi dah benda bengkak in surgery dia jadi troublesome sikit lah. So kalau ada option nak kasih
Reduce dulu.
Yang terbaik lah.
Itu yang terbaik.
I think bila bengkak ni because dia macam phase of inflammation kan.
Yeah,
Even
dia-
gigi pun kalau you punya gingivitis tu bengkak, dia don't want to remove sebab
ada.
it will increase the chances of bleeding,
Infection, macam-macam lah. Macam
Tapi doktor kalau dalam kes macam tu kan, if it's a thrombus and swollen, apa kita boleh buat? I mean apa kita boleh offer to the patient untuk go for a reduction of the swelling. Lepas tu kita boleh offer the treatment extract tu pula lepas tu. Is there
kalau
any?
okay, bila dah swelling, kita do whatever we need, conservative management most of the time, okay, to reduce the swelling.
Okay.
Itu paling penting
Ice ke apa lah macam doktor cakap tadi lah.
So a lot of it is okay, boleh try.
Cantik. Ice.
Apa dah record? It's okay. Nanti kita boleh study balik video tu. So ice, kita panggil ice fingers, letak kat situ.
Macam mana tu Syarif? Ice fingers.
Ice fingers tu dia just panjang je lah macam ni. Kita letak dia dekat celah-celah tu. Okay.
So bukan ice dengan finger kau, bukan. Bentuknya tu.
Bentuk dia finger.
Rod.
Betul lah, rod dah panjang.
Letak situ. So most of the time kadang-kadang boleh buat kat rumah, tapi kadang-kadang kena masuk hospital lah.
Tak cair ke ice tu?
Cair
lah.
basah. Messi punya.
Messy lah.
Messi kotor semua kan. Lepas tu kena local anesthetic.
Let's say ice
sebab
good.
thrombus. Bukan sebab thrombus
Just,
sakit.
yeah, sakit.
Sakit.
Letak
And the ice kau letak pun is painful weh.
painful.
Ice ni kalau kau makan kan ada this freeze kind of sensation tu, is painful lah
Yeah.
kan.
Tapi most of the time because that thrombus pun dah sakit.
Ah,
So benda tu
so jadi
actually
sakit lah.
soothing sikit. Okay. And then most of the time memang kena to hospital sikit with some painkiller. Kena kasih through vein lah kan. Supaya stronger painkillers yang tak ada kat rumah atau kat klinik. So takes a while. Maybe 24-40 hours dah reduce.
Baru kita boleh offer.
Later on kita offer treatment. Of course ada je treatment terus. Tapi kita kena counsel lah patient, this is the risk.
Tapi
Memang
selalu
boleh je
bila dah
buat.
reda tu dia tak nak dah apa.
Itu satu lagi lah.
Selalu
So tengok kadang-kadang we offer terus pasal maybe tak don't see conservative management working. Kalau tengok pun
Tak ada progress
ni
kan.
macam mana ni, tak boleh kot kita counsel lah. Tapi with associated risk dengan possible slightly more difficult procedure tu je. So kalau patient okay, kita proceed je lah.
Okay.
Tapi risiko untuk thrombus tu ada faktor ke? Ke dia memang datang macam tu je?
Risiko untuk thrombus selalunya untuk grade 3 dan 4.
Oh.
Maksudnya dia tend to keluar and then strangulate. Strangulate maksudnya dia punya neck tu kan.
Dia kecil dan tak nak masuk.
Dia neck tu jadi narrow and dia, if thrombus area dia block lah. So dia tak boleh masuk dalam balik. So size have a factor likely to be thrombus. Maybe mainly tu lah kot.
Size and grade.
Yeah.
Lagi keluar,
Correct.
lagi tinggi risiko.
And because bila dia lagi keluar tu maksudnya the sizing tu dah besar lah.
Yes.
Betul tak? And then nak masuk balik tu kecil dia punya neck tu.
So seeloknya jangan tunggu thrombus lah.
Yes.
Ataupun
seeloknya-
jangan tunggu macam dia nampak dah dulu keluar sikit, makin lama keluar banyak. So the risk of thrombus is getting higher by the time dia makin keluar lah.
So
Ya, Jai?
that's why
Jangan tunggu. Jangan
that's
tunggu.
why you tak boleh tunggu sampai sakit.
Betul.
Bila dah rasa tu better jumpa lah.
Betul.
So that Exroid boleh membantu.
Betul?
Tiba.
Promote Exroid.
So itulah Exroid ni make the barrier to treatment. Kalau dapat treat the small one, senang, best. Dia rasa macam satisfactory.
Betul.
Macam before
You can see the outcome tu memang
kan.
there and then kan nampak.
So yeah, I think macam because dia punya effort tu not so much. You faham ke?
Faham.
Kadang nak rawat benda kecil tapi effort besar sangat pun kadang-kadang patient macam leceh lah.
Overwhelm.
Tapi benda ni
Boleh
macam you datang pagi ni, okay petang kita boleh buat kind of thing. Patient macam okay. Dia rasa macam this is accessible macam
So I think for patient yang memang mungkin dah selalu sangat dapat problem, dia recurring punya problem, even though it's not that serious but you can feel the pain atau sometimes the bleeding, maybe you can opt for this kind of treatment because it's a daycare procedure.
Betul.
You buat and then you jumpa one time Dr. Sharil, counsel. Even kalau ada counsel petang tu ada time, you can slot in and buat terus.
Yes.
Kan? Betul tak?
Walk in boleh. Dr. Sharil.
semi walk in lah boleh sebab kita kena plan sikit lah. Itu je is logistic for our part lah which is we can manage lah. So like I say lah macam the treatment barrier tu dah prepare this treatment bring it down so comfortable.
Yep. Cuma sekarang kita nak tackle macam mana nak hilang perasaan malu.
Stigma. Dan itulah macam awareness dah ada sebenarnya.
Betul.
Awareness tak ada masalah.
The
Awareness
fact that they actually datang untuk minta ubat tahan sakit krim yang kau cakap tadi tu, it's already the awareness dah. Cuma malu untuk bagi tahu yang maybe I need more than this kan, ada
Aku rasa kau
malu.
kena create supportive group.
Aku buat sale group Kau memang
Buat satu page, semua kumpul dalam tu.
Doktor, selain daripada Cellgate ni, doktor ada berkhidmat di tempat lain ke sebagai macam visiting ke ataupun
buat masa ni saya cuba offer this dekat most hopefully nanti dah ada hospital buka, kita akan offer
Ada Cellgate lah.
ada Cellgate.
Yes.
And also kita try nak venture into cell care clinic.
Cellcare clinic.
Oh, ya, itu
Yalah.
baik tu.
Cell care clinic ialah cell care hospital clinic
Bawah
under
cell ni lah.
Cellgate. So kita try to branch out that to experimental
menarik
scale.
Okay.
Sebab
Doktor dibayar oleh Selangor ke ni kan untuk ni? buat promote Cellgate dengan Cellcare ni.
gaji biasa je dah.
Tak apa.
Sebab kenapa saya tanya doktor, sebab macam for those people maybe yang mungkin nak tahu lebih lanjut atau nak jumpa doktor secara personally kan, other than going to Rawang per se, is there any other places that they can actually meet you? Sebab mungkin ada orang yang datang daripada Kuala Selangor ke apa, atau lagi jauh ke, they wanted to see you, kena pergi Rawang ke ada tempat lain?
I am planning to actually part of my my plan lah macam project. So actually memang nak dapat macam satu network. Maksudnya center resource center ni supaya actually website je sekarang. Tapi eventually what the plan is kita boleh because this treatment lower the barrier and cara nak treatment boleh dikasih, kita boleh buat kat macam-macam tempat.
Betul.
So buat masa ni lah at least this year Cellgate Hospital dengan Cellcare Clinic. Tapi kalau network tu berjaya, kalau patient nak tahu information ni, just go to the website first. Tengok apa yang kita boleh offer, how does it work.
But this Exroid Dr. Sharil, GP boleh bagi ke?
GP at the moment dia tidak
Credential.
tak dapat lagi kasih because part of the treatment it requires some sedation.
I see.
Betul.
Sebab
betul.
perlukan sedation and sedation perlukan arrest trolley lah. So I tak tahulah requirement tapi dia macam tak not there
Not
yet.
suitable yet for GPs.
Tapi kalau certain countries memang dia orang buat
I think kalau maybe yang macam kind of like klinik yang dah macam poliklinik, mega klinik yang memang ada NS yang ada standby specialist ke apa ke, I think they can approach.
Eventually luar negara buat. So maksudnya in theory boleh.
In theory boleh.
In theory.
The readiness lah doktor.
Readiness tu betul, and then support satu lagi kan, macam kena ada access to hospital jugalah kalau ada apa-apa problem semua kan. So going there, that's what we try to offer sebenarnya.
Okay. Right.
Supaya we can offer everywhere lah.
Macam doktor pergi kat kat UK tu kan tengok this Extroid punya terapi. Maksudnya is there any specific training ataupun macam course hands-on punya courses untuk buat Extroid ni, ataupun you can actually look and feel and do?
Dia ada dia punya requirement buat masa ni surgeons. Okay, surgeons dengan specialist lah still. Nampak macam dia punya klinik, dia punya training tak susah. Okay, training is the device. Cuma actually more like recognizing the type of hemorrhoid dengan is it really suitable. Sebenarnya dalam medicine ni kan, sebenarnya skill yang penting ialah is it, kalau nak buat memang boleh buat.
Doable ke tak doable?
Tapi mana yang tak sesuai sebenarnya you should offer something else. So kalau
which is not everyone ada that skill lah. Betul tak?
Sebab sebenarnya kalau tengok benda ni siapa-siapa boleh buat teori, tapi the better specialist know actually we should offer something else. Benda macam tu lah yang nak control sekarang ni. Bukan control, nak make sure patient have the best care.
I think this is to safeguard jugalah.
Safeguard supaya memang cases yang suitable je buat dulu.
But talking about the Syaril, apa komplikasi dia sebenarnya? We've been talking about all the good things.
Komplikasi dia quite rare and small. Which is macam, that's why part of the reason I happily counsel the patient lah, pasal komplikasi dia a bit of nak cakap langit bumi tak fair lah tapi compared to open hemorrhoidotomy, which is bleeding, infection,
reduce
pain,
lah,
prolonged pain, even laser hemorrhoid, which is still fairly minimal, swelling dia prolong, blood bleeding ada risiko. So dia punya complication as far as I know, yang paling problem sikit is mucosa necrosis. Maksudnya mucosa tu dia punya electrochemical tu a bit too much, extensive or too long. Mucosa tu jadi macam macam tak ada nak cakap mati, tapi dia dah tak function, so dia jadi ulcer, dia boleh berdarah. So itu je lah setakat ni, which is not so bad sebenarnya,
which can be treated jugalah benda tu kan.
But does that cause pain? The ulcer?
Could cause pain. Dia jadi macam bleeding hemorrhoid lah. Kalau hemorrhoid, part of the problem is dia tear and dia bleed. So kalau mucosa tu macam ulcerated, dia bleed, and then sometimes healing takes time, susah sikit kan. So that's main thing. And then satu lagi ialah not complication, but drawback dia is sometimes operator dependent sikit lah.
I see.
So kadang-kadang macam not as tak dapat reduction as much as we want. Okay, kalau you compare efficacy dengan complication, sometimes efficacy reduce sikit tak apa, reduce complication
betul.
So tak apa, you can repeat multiple. Tapi samalah barrier dia selalunya financial lah, harga barang semua kan. So it's one of the lesser complication. So that's why for me tak susah nak advocate lah
untuk convincekan patient.
Kan, macam paling teruk pun kita tak dapat the size, nak kecilkan sebanyak yang kita buat, itu pun kalau you okay, kita boleh cuba lain, atau atau dah okay, at least symptomatic dah okay pun, acceptable. Itu kena ada explanation je kan. Sometimes kita tak achieve 100% tapi good enough, tak kacau dah,
right,
okay.
Doktor, talking about tadi pasal the barrier most of the time is the cost kan. I hope that kalau benda ni can be included in one of the premium coverage is good lah. Secondly, kalau macam dari segi treatment ni kan, dia macam Extroid dengan let's go for conservative hemorrhoidectomy lah, yang kita buang totally. Hemorrhoidectomy ni is removal. So removal dengan Extroid, because removal ni require NS drugs, NS doctor services, OT services, ward, you kena warded. So kalau ikutkan lah timbang tara, you do as a outpatient Extroid dengan macam ni, the cost, is it still superior on Extroid side ataupun almost equivalent?
Okay, so kalau kita nak compare purely the Extroid electrotherapy dengan OT procedure, lagi cheaper lah overall.
Okay.
cheaper.
Which is good lah.
That's why what trying to advocate, sebab bila kita cakap dengan tadi dia kata
Yeah.
barrier is cost, tapi sebenarnya when you are talking about
Yes,
overall cost,
overall
you are still winning in some sense lah.
Yeah,
You nak
Insurance juga ni.
betul?
Betul tak?
Lagi sikit dia kena bayar.
Betul. Betul, exactly. Macam
Betul.
part of the is part of the conversation with patient kan.
Yes.
Macam okay, tak tahulah boleh cakap kat sini ke tak kan, tapi
Boleh.
still macam
Kita semua boleh.
macam insurance, I'm not criticizing anyone, but there are element of berkira lah, of
Oh
course.
yeah,
kan.
definitely.
Certain things insurance akan easily agreeable. At certain level of cost, tak apa. Dia akan cakap okay.
Betul.
Certain tu dia start question, then dia jadi susah sikit.
Susah.
So kalau cakap this is fairly macam that part lah, the easier part of nak dapatkan clearance. Macam so this is macam kan patient frustrated sangat.
Betul.
Macam nak masuk OT susah lah pasal insurance tak cover
Tapi
semua.
daycare insurance cover ke? Because this is daycare
Selalunya it's procedure ni bila kita nak buat dia macam kena ada warded punya version kan. Tapi kalau dia warded macam MRI lah. Dia outpatient punya ni. Tapi what they do is dia akan admitkan one day petang and then buat MRI pagi and discharge the next day, which is the cost of the ward stay pun tak banyak sebenarnya.
How about the real situation? Insurance cover daycare?
To be honest, kalau you
Ada
guys,
certain
you guys, so sekarang ni insurance memang dia shift to banyak daycare.
Oh.
If you realise, diorang memang kan macam-macam lah. Kalau pernah baca whatever kat threads ke kat mana-mana macam orang complain pasal inpatient pun susah sekarang kan.
Betul.
Nak inpatient pun pasal dia question inpatient punya procedure, kenapa inpatient. Memang diorang erring towards daycare procedure. Even
which is lagi senang.
clinic procedure now pun lagi senang.
Betul.
Clinic procedure maksudnya klinik saja kan. Memang dia orang going there. Tak tahulah dia punya justification. I presume cheaper for them.
Betul.
And then macam itulah, I think it's cheaper for them. And then they memang advocate. So sebenarnya daycare lagi senang nowadays.
Betul.
For me, that my experience lah. Tak tahu orang lain macam mana.
Dari segi costing ni, I mean for all the matters untuk orang yang macam mungkin pergi hospital kata kenapa ada certain things tak covered by insurance kan. Sebenarnya all the procedures ni semuanya listed dalam kita punya 13 schedule of our Private Healthcare Facility Act. So mungkin bila ada treatment baru, dia bukanlah treatment baru yang macam baru sangat, but new things yang kita nak introduce tak ada dalam the schedule, 13 schedule. Dua benda yang orang dekat KKM, because I was in that particular division before. Apa yang kita buat adalah satu, kita mix matchkan dengan yang mana satu yang sebanding dengan dia. Maybe this one is sama macam laser therapy, something like equivalent, so we can code sebagai laser therapy, but actually it's electrolysis kind of chemical lah.
Electrochemical.
Itu satu, one way. Second way is kalau kita memang nak jadikan dia sebagai benchmarking of the next untuk insurance to look at, kita memang akan minta kita punya KKM lah, kita panggil HTA, Health Technology Assessment, untuk buat assessment kepada the procedure, tengok buat study sikit, and if it's like something yang memang moving towards gold standard, kita akan listkan dia dalam 13 schedule as an amendment. So benda tu akan dapat dia punya own base cost sendiri.
Code sendiri.
Betul. So if that is something yang insurance is looking at and it's cheaper in terms of buat hemorrhoidopexy ataupun TOMI as a matter of fact, they are actually more willing to enroll that into their scheme of premium coverage sebenarnya.
And if that treatment can reduce you punya pain,
And reduce you punya length of stay. Length of stay yang mahal tu, yang bayar-bayar makan macam-macam tu.
actually semua orang
Sebenarnya
happy kecuali hospital.
marah Sergej. Kata aku nak
Actually
untuk.
Sergej yang advocate benda ni. Tiba.
Okay. Anything else? I mean, from me, I rasa banyak yang I dah exhaust my part. Maybe ada anything yang you want to ask Dr. Syaril?
So sepanjang Dr. Syaril treating hemorrhoid from your experience, what are the cases yang you cannot forget lah in terms of complication ke, in terms of your this is really something a Malaysian should know about this case. If you can share lah. Ke semua sama je. PR bleed lepas tu tak nak operation. PR bleed tak nak operation.
I think macam okay lah, macam lately macam patient satisfaction lah, macam nowadays lah, macam ni kalau buat hemorrhoid, you warn them macam the hospital kalau laser hemorrhoid lah, do a lot of laser hemorrhoid kan, still painful. So patient macam pagi next day jumpa klinik kat ward round macam
Tak senyum.
tak sejuk.
Doktor kata tak sakit juga
Soalan gelak-gelak. Kata painless kurang sikit tapi bukan pain free kan. Tapi dah decline buat
expectation tu lah.
Expectation. Lepas tu kalau buat X-ray senang sikit macam patient macam okay dah. Okay.
Oh, tu beza dia. Tu beza dia.
So macam okay this patient, if the outcome is very similar, why don't you
Betul.
Macam what's best for patient lah for me kan.
Lagi satu as a doctor kan, bila kita tengok muka patient berubah after the treatment, I mean in a way of like macam dia happy, dia jumpa doktor, dah okay lah doktor, best lah. I think that is the satisfaction of the doctor. Betul tak?
Betul.
Kita pun rasa macam berjaya ni, aku berjaya makan duit dia.
Especially tak pernah lah keluar mulut.
Alhamdulillah. Lepas ni sebab actually what happen, kadang-kadang you buat lah advertise media sosial ke apa, sometimes the best is words of the patient.
Betul.
The words kata, you jumpa doktor ni, I buat itu tak sakit pun, you pergi sini, I buat memang best. I think these are more valuable as compared to you nak promote sendiri kan.
Tapi I can understand Dr. Syarif punya, orang kata apa, dilema lah. Because bila patient datang painless PR bleed, post-op jadi painful.
Itulah
you
itulah
rasa
isu.
macam,
Itu lain lah, betul.
you rasa alamak.
Betul macam you rasa dah macam certain benda boleh justify.
Yes.
Macam kalau cancer operation memang patient akan sakit pun.
Kita
Alhamdulillah.
Okay,
Tapi
alhamdulillah.
doktor ni itu cakap okey lah.
ini makin sakit aku.
Tapi saya tak sakit itu kan. Memang sakit. Macam so susah lah nak
Lagi
justify.
satu, bila doktor pula dekat private practice. Private practice ni is easy to be, yelah macam kalau kita pula easy to be taken action by legal. Benda-benda macam ni kita ada sedikit kebimbangan. That's why kita always nak wanted to go for procedure yang if possible outcome dia always on the rainbow side. Cantik je kan.
Betul,
Macam tu.
That's what patient want kan.
Yelah betul lah. And they are paying for that. Bukannya bayar RM1.
Sebab risau bila sakit, tak sakit jadi sakit, dia tak nak promote dah.
Betul.
Kau jangan jumpa dah doktor untuk hemorrhoid. Makin sakit.
Betul. It's true, but kita rawat.
Yes,
tapi
kita rawat.
dia experience is true. Kita tak boleh deny dia punya experience. Betul,
Yes.
sakit tak sakit.
So
And then,
luckily Azroid come into picture now.
so macam
Maybe can reduce that lah.
Ya. Lepas ni senyum lah panjang Dr. Syarif. Oi.
Buat lagi.
Any role of prophylaxis? I mean out of the window. Azroid for prophylaxis.
Nak buat tu.
Dia minta. Kau tanya aku minta.
On behalf. Boleh. Because it's subjective lah. It's subjective. Okay, we can prevent it, but kalau lifestyle sama, meneran,
Okay.
can happen.
We still kena advocate lah juga
kena advocate,
kan.
normal life kan.
Tapi good lah, maksudnya for GP kalau korang jumpa patient macam ni, you can actually bagi tahu dia orang, okay, you can stop this, tak payah dia lagi every time 2 minggu sekali kau berak keras jadi. You do extra, maybe it can stop for a while, ataupun maybe it can stop permanently, and then you change your lifestyle, perhaps you don't have to see me anymore.
Okay about that. Recurrent. Boleh?
Recurrent boleh. Okay, semua benda boleh recurrent. Okay.
Semua benda boleh jad.
Hemorrhoid tu tissue.
Ah.
It's a collection of tissue. So unless you remove all on its entirety, recurrence is always possible.
So kalau dia dulu weightlifting, kena stop lah?
Not really.
Not really.
Continue je lah.
Oh.
Cuma life tu macam like say lah, benda ni subjektif kan. Kita change what you can change. A better way to do things.
Okay.
Then we tambah lagi lifestyle lain, makan fiber semua.
I think that's all.
That's all.
Lifestyle modification is very important lah. Post and pre mungkin tak banyak berubah, but the post
Post
kan.
lah,
Sama je macam kalau kita have cancer kan. Previously kita maybe so indulge into fast food, carbonized food, memang macam bakar-bakar. After you do reduction ataupun you do chemo apa, of course you do some awareness untuk okay, we shouldn't take this kind of food anymore. So those are lifestyle modification kan. Sama macam hemorrhoid juga.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So
Nak tu je. Okay.
hopefully audience kita tahu Azroid exists.
Betul.
Because if you can ask me, kita recall back waktu medical student kan dulu, kita tahu bending, lepas tu surgery.
Bending, Pexim, Tommy.
Ya,
Itu je,
itu je
tiga
kita
je.
hafal.
Lepas tu Daflon lah mula.
Yes.
Daflon fail pergi 3 ni.
Yes.
Itu
Lepas tu
je.
waktu surgical posting, kita buat bending kan.
Buat tu?
Buat lah. Itu yang tak sakit tu. Ambil orang lain lah. Okay. Lepas tu now there's a new advancement, which is good lah. As
Betul.
time evolve, advancement comes in. Itu kita nak.
Actually memang macam tu lah. I mean medical world always, macam tu cakap dia ada robotic background kan. Dulu kita never imagine Da Vinci is in the picture. Now you tak payah scrub in, you can still do operation. Benda-benda advancement lah tu.
Betul?
Something
Betul.
like that.
And now Azroid in the picture. So you guys yang ada hemorrhoid, jangan malu. Even though senang kita kata jangan malu kan. Tapi sebenarnya
betul.
memang
It's difficult.
Tengok
macam
macam
Akmal.
tengok panjang lagi
Dia
laju
malu yang macam. Tapi hari ni kita biar jaya buat dia lebih open.
Bukan podcast.
By the way, I think this is a very eye-opening to us. I mean to me, because I'm a GP, kita selalu nak advocate patient selalu makan ubat je kan. But now I do now have something in picture that you can seek something and maybe it can stop your suffer lah. Daripada selalu sangat kena, maybe it can stop. And then for the audience pula, again macam Bajak cakap lah, jangan malu tu is a very stigmatized word. Tapi I think have courage. It's not jangan malu, but have courage untuk rasa macam you want your life to become better. Sebab kalau tidak, asyik nak kena duduk letak ring cushion lah, apalah kan. Rather than that, maybe you can go and seek personalized treatment. Jumpa Dr. Syahril ke, ataupun maybe kalau ada treatment extra ni di mana-mana tempat yang lain. We are not saying lah KPJ ke mana, I don't care. Tapi asalkan ada, maybe you can seek the treatment. You can always ask for it whether it's available kan.
Tapi at least for the sake of kalau risiko tu tinggi, family history of cancer, you dah start ada.
Better check.
Yes, better check.
Go for surveillance at least lah. Do not afraid of that procedure proctoscope tu sebenarnya. Because dia buat sekali je, and then whatever dia dah nampak, and then dia will document, and that documents will be the proof where you going. So bukanlah macam setiap kali pun nak cucuk buat lah.
What's the common myth of hemorrhoid, Dr. Syahril?
Common myth I think common myth patient cakap makan pedas menyebabkan hemorrhoid.
Betul.
Ayam gepuk.
Dia bukan myth, in a way is partially true. Dia bukannya makan pedas tu menyebabkan hemorrhoid. Makan pedas kan, dia punya whatever chili tu, tak tahu lah chemical dia apa kan, it will stay inside your usus kan, up until bawah tu. So it cause pain lah kalau dia hemorrhoid.
Dia bahang lah bawah tu.
Tapi dia bukan penyebab. Orang kan, doktor saya makan
aku teringat orang cakap apa, kalau makan pedas nanti berak berapi berak panas.
Memang.
But it's real because of the chemical capsaicin tu. Capsaicin tu. So
ikut level lah, top global. Ikut level bawah pedas ekstrim.
kau macam-macam betul lah kot. Maybe because I do have a sensitive bowel. Makan benda pedas memang akan cerit. So is that also like a response of our usus, doktor?
I mean it's just irritants in a way. So sama je macam disalah makan kan, toksin sikit, dia irritants kan. Dia just low level of irritants lah. Macam cili kita dah biasa kan. So it's not causing hemorrhoid. It cause pain kalau you dah ada hemorrhoid.
I see.
Yes.
Dah berpuluh tahun makan cili, kata pasal tu kena hemorrhoid tak? Just
so buat penggemar yang gepuk, this is a good news. Cili tak menyebabkan hemorrhoid.
Neither it actually can cause cancer sebenarnya, but of course the chemical, kalau you makan banyak-banyak sangat, who knows what the chemicals do to your usus lah kan. Because orang pun cakap, sebab ada orang cakap memang orang yang banyak makan pedas ni, they are high risk of getting cancer. Sebab maybe the chemical, dia irritate so much of the cell. Maybe kita tahu kan yang all this, dia boleh tukar jadi squamous mutation kan. Dia jadi squamous and it becomes squamous cell carcinoma. So all these kind of things lah. Macam rokok lah. You ni, and then bahagian yang papillary dah jadi carcinoma, squamous pula. So the transformation tu yang can cause cancer sebenarnya.
And from my reading, hemorrhoid ni sangatlah common among Malaysian population. Tetapi stigma tu masih lagi tinggi lah.
Stigma tinggi.
Kita rather tahan sakit, tahan semua, dan jumpa doktor, which kita nak cubalah atasi benda tu. That's why our effort bringing Dr. Syahril to talk about it, break the stigma. In fact, Akmal pun dah mengaku. Tiba-tiba je.
Ada satu patient yang come
so
forward.
kita nak tunjuk yang yes, we can break the stigma.
Tapi nanti yang mendaftar kat Sergate buat extract saja juga. Sudah, kau tahu dah. Okay, I think towards the end kita dapat banyak info pasal buasir, pasal hemorrhoid itself. Tapi if you're talking about buasir, it's a lot more. Bukan sahaja hemorrhoid. I think kita ada macam penyakit lain, diverticulitis, polyps, which also can be presented, anal fissure, which also can be presented dengan simptom yang lebih kurang, sakit, darah dan sebagainya, which kita tak adalah nak cerita kat sini. But when you are having symptoms, anal pain, anal bleeding, ataupun ada lumps and bumps, do not take it for granted. Do not take it lightly. If you need and it's a recurring thing, please go and get yourself checked. So I think that will be a take home message lah daripada
Dia
kita.
perlu jumpa GP dulu ke, Dr. Syahril? Ke boleh direct?
I tak rasa patient have both choice. Tapi to be honest, okay, dia senang thing PR bleed, then surgeon terus tak ada.
I think boleh je nak bagi GP sebab selalunya dia orang punya medical card apa tu, ataupun benefit coverage dekat outpatient. But of course role kita is to refer lah. And we as a doctor have to know when to refer. Jangan simply nak trip boleh ni, and then dah 2-3 kali bleeding pun boleh ni. You have to know when to stop, when to refer jugalah, kan?
For me tu je satunya bleeding je. Bleeding tu kita in a way macam
Red flag dah lah.
kan.
Red flag
So
dah.
tak apa, tak nak
Tapi
bypass
kita
GP ke.
tak explain lagi yang bleeding ni. Dia bleeding tu macam mana dok cari? Kalau dia nak betul-betul faham.
Okay, kalau
Mix with the stool ke?
Kalau nak faham this part, it's a bit tricky pasal kalau nak suruh patient decide this, I think confusing for them. Sebab kalau hemorrhoid in theory dia bright red blood menitik.
Menitik lah.
Menitik. So
Selepas buang air besar.
because it's very external, maksud dia kat luar. Tapi ada setengah blood tu dia macam dah beku sikit, atau macam berketul-ketul atau warna hitam sikit. Maksudnya dia come dari atas.
A little bit
atas.
Dia dah
Which
oxidize
means,
sikit.
maksudnya dia ada sebab lain. So bila kita cakap, kita nak cuba describe bleeding kat patient, nak suruh dia cakap, bila jadi macam ni buat hemorrhoid, nanti patient confused. So I never try to
You never try to
explain
go
lah,
detail
cakap, no, just bleeding
Just bleeding je.
Bleeding
Bleeding
je.
je, tak kisah macam mana, you tahu scary bleeding dah.
Okay.
Then
You tahu lah is ada merah ke, merunish ke, blackish ataupun you know it's blood, then just
yes.
come forward.
Darah. Yang penting darah, bukan cili. Okay, that's a good point. Jangan go in detail in terms of macam mana bleeding to appear, because nanti confused.
confused.
Patient
It's very
confused.
Okay, alright.
Okay, that's interesting.
Any last words, doktor? Ada banyak sangat last wordnya, tapi any last words to the audience? I mean, this is to audience, bukan kepada doctors lah, kepada audience.
Especially for
hemorrhoid. What do you want to tell them?
Okay, I rasa my last word, stigma tu is a big thing. It's a cultural, and kita can only raise awareness. Cuma patient should know options are better. That's one thing. Options are better. Jangan ingat macam dulu. Options are better. Painless option ada.
Yep.
And lastly, any bleeding is not something to be ignored.
Okay.
Alright.
Terus.
Itu paling penting.
Okay, thank you Dr. Syaril. Thank you for the
Thank you,
very
Dr. Syaril.
insightful notes on the end of the session. I think we have reached our end. Banyak sangat benda yang kita belajar. In fact, perkataan buasi tu sendiri is actually
No,
new
that one
learning
is
for us.
really eye-opening.
Benda baru 5 minit pertama dah ada belajar benda baru dah.
Bahasa
Lepas tu,
Arab ya?
we got to know budget ada problem. Okay. Okay. So
Kita dapat kupas stigma issue hari
betul.
ni.
Sebab a lot of people actually bukannya takut nak jumpa sebab dia sakit, but takut orang punya perspektif.
Especially perempuan lah.
Betul. Sama lah juga macam PV Bliss and all. Dia
Yes.
takut nak jumpa because dia takut kita ada stigma on them pula. Things like that lah. Even though sometimes it's true lah.
Betul juga.
Kan? Alright. So things to ponder, for, especially for those doctors kat luar sana. Maybe we have to try to communicate better and learn how to tackle this kind of issue in future.
And from my take, I think mungkin kita jangan label buasi. Hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoid bunyi dia gas sikit lah.
Atau piles lah.
Professional
Sebenarnya
sikit.
piles pun actually quite orang macam piles tu apa? Tak apa, yang tahu je tahu.
Yang tahu je tahu. Tu penting. Yes.
Budget memang tahu. Okay. Alright, so I think thanks to our sponsor again, TSL, the Scrub Lab,
for ni lah,
for sponsoring sampai sekarang.
Sampai sekarang kita dah 24 dah.
24 episod dah. More to come insyaAllah.
insyaAllah.
And then insyaAllah kita pun akan bring more guests macam ni sebab kita ada terima orang cakap why not kita discuss things macam ni lah. Advancement of medical therapy and benda-benda yang more relevant to the audience, not only to the medical doctor.
Yes.
We will try to do it intermittent. Tak adalah setiap masa, but we will try to maintain kita punya image juga as a doctors who can talk things that not medical, macam tu, but at the same time isu masa yang melibatkan doctors and also healthcare workers. But at the same time maybe kita akan selit-selitkan juga benda-benda yang ilmiah macam ni, which is sometimes might not be something yang in the limelight, especially macam ni lah X-Royd. I don't think a lot of people know about this, kan. So now dah kita dah ni, people boleh look for it.
Betul.
I pun nak Google juga tengok macam mana X-Royd sebab nak referkan bajet.
Aku
Okay, Jack.
tolong buatkan kadang-kadang.
WhatsApp aku.
Certified.
Wajah guys hari ni. Okay.
Alright guys, so thank you to everyone yang tuning in.
Yep.
So this is OMG
24
milligram.
Small dose but just enough for you to stay. Until then, thank you. Bye. See you guys.